Hey, my name's Jed Dorsey, and I'm going to be critiquing your paintings today. Well, maybe not your paintings because I don't know if I have yours in front of me, but these are members of our community from Acrylic University, and it's going to be really fun. In fact, this first one, I have to make one more caveat. It's not even a member from our community. It's a member of our community's mom. And it's just a really cool painting here that she sent in because a few weeks ago on a Friday night when I painted live, I painted Niagara Falls. And so this member sent my painting to her mom, and then she took a painting that her mom had done of Niagara Falls and sent it to me. And I thought it was such a great painting. I just wanted to spend a couple minutes looking at it because it's got this incredible kind of view, which looks like it's almost like suspended, maybe from the other side looking over, but you can look down and you see the boat. And what our friend was telling us is that her mom has some history with that type of boat. It's called a blue nose, and it's a sailboat down there in the bottom corner, which is super cool. So there's kind of her heritage into this painting, which I think is just an awesome thing about art, is that you bring yourself into it, right? And but I love the motion of the water in this painting. I just love how the feel of the water and how soft she got this edge up on the top with the line of the tree line kind of breaking up into the sky. And she's just done a tremendous job here with the acrylic paint. She's contained her values really well, very strong values down here. It really makes the white, foamy, frothy nature of the waves crashing over or the water crashing over. It really accentuates those highlights. So I think this is a super beautiful painting, and I really just thought it would be a fun one to start off with. Now here's another one from a member that is super beautiful and really interesting, right? I think he found a photograph that he really loved, and his intended desire at the beginning, he said, I'm gonna paint this really loose, and he got into it, and he ended up becoming more detailed with it than I think he sought to at the beginning. But I just love how vibrant this painting is, and you see the reflected light shining off of this metal camper here, and the windows reflecting all this beautiful light. But you also have this cool, it looks like it's almost a snowy scene. I'm not totally sure, but you've got very cool colors down in the ground, and then of course up in the upper part of the sky you also have the blue coming through, which is super neat and super beautiful. But what really makes this, I mean, it's an interesting design, it's all this, but it's the reflected light, and I think he did a really great job here with capturing that light and the contrast between the warm and the cool colors in this painting. Really fun. Here's another one by a member of a scene, I think probably close to her house, and I love the feel of this. I love how you've got a really good sense of the snow. You know, it feels like a cold day, but there's this warmth from the sky. It's maybe sunrise or maybe sunset later in the day, but you're getting this real nice warmth to offset the coolness of the rest of the scene with all this snow. And then you have this interest of the colorful birdhouses there, right? Set right in front of this main house. And you also have a little garbage can here with some color. And I think because of that, your eye kind of goes between the birdhouse to the garbage can, an unlikely area of interest, but then up into the sky, and you see all these nice colors and come around. I also like how she handled the kind of shadows on the roof, or the tree branches kind of showing through, and did some negative shape painting up here. And yeah, I really like this. I think it's a really great painting, and I think that the colors work together really well. It's pretty minimal, like you got greens and green blues, and then you have this one red which really draws your eye to that birdhouse, and then you have the warmth back here in the sky. So I think it's a really, really fun composition and a neat image. And here's another one. I think that this is also a really fun composition. Kind of I'm not sure if this is the back of buildings or, you know, something like that. It looks to me like it's kind of hidden behind. It reminds me a little bit of a town close to where I live, and there's a kind of the back side of some buildings, and there's a little parking area back there. And that's what this kind of reminds me of. But I love how you get this long shadow coming. You can tell that it's late in the day or early in the morning. You got a long shadow that covers a large part of this foreground in this painting and these buildings here. And then you've got this light kind of cascading past and shining on all this stuff back here. And you have an RV sitting back here, you know. So I just feel like there's a ton of interesting things, and this would have been a pretty complicated subject to paint, and she did a good job with the lines. I mean, there might be a few things that are off a little bit, but in general, I look at it and I think, yeah, this makes sense. The perspective on these lines makes sense, and she did a really good job of kind of capturing the feel of the day, which I think is super, super impressive. And also getting a little bit of reflected light on these rail tracks down here at the bottom, which is super fun because, you know, you're getting this sense of the light again. It's the normal blacktop isn't going to reflect the light very much, but those rail tracks, they really are going to reflect the light. So pretty awesome. Now here's a picture that is from our miniature challenge, and there's going to be one more at the end, same scene, but we'll see how different they are and how cool it is when you have, you know, different people approach the same subject and how different they look. In this one, I really love how colorful it is and how textured the brush strokes are, and there's an overall feel of texture in this painting. You know, a lot of the edges are not super crisp. They're kind of broken edges, and that lends towards a really neat feel. And there's so much color in here. And the design is nice. She actually took an image that was a square image and she made it more of a vertical, and it still really works well. And it's got a lot of nice highlights with the warm colors from the sunlight streaming through, and then it's got these really nice shadows coming across and kind of making a pattern that it breaks up actually the pattern of the road going back, but your eye still goes back on the road because that's such a strong element in the painting. So again, another really fun painting, and it'll be interesting when you see the second version of this from a different member. You'll see, you know, how different they look even though it's the same scene. Now here's another one that I think is really great. It's got, you know, a really strong sense of design and a strong line here. I think if you know, and the color is really nice. You've got this, you know, kind of violet tone and kind of a few variations on violets and blue violets and maybe a little bit more red violet on the trees. And then you have this rich spring green color that is very fresh and alive. And those colors really work well together. I've always found that violet and that green, they kind of interact together and they create a nice harmony or a nice kind of balance with each other. And so I really like that. And I feel like because this tree is at a bit of an angle, it's not straight up, and this other one back here, you got some different things going on, and you have a lot of movement because of that, because of that diagonal kind of feel of that. Now, if I was going to suggest one thing with this, I would probably just break up this line slightly. Maybe down here, just break it up a little bit down here or somewhere so that it doesn't go almost all the way to the corner. It doesn't go all the way to the corner, which is why it still works, but I might just break it up. I might just put a couple blades of grass or something up in front of that and break that up a little higher up here, and I think that it would actually help our eye stay back up into that painting. But a really fun painting and a really good job here. Now here's another one that's got a little bit of a glare down here on the bottom side, so the image itself is not being totally true to the painting, but I get the feel of this, and there's some things that I really like about it. With one of the big things that I love is the warmth in the shadow. And a lot of times, you know, when you think of shadows, you think of cool. You know, the light might be warm, but the shadow's going to be cool. And there is a general principle that if your light is warm, your shadow's going to be cool. If your light is cool, your shadow's going to be warm. And in this case, it's a little bit more like the light is cool and the shadow's really warm. And it's fun because a lot of times, you know, you'd see a large area of shadow like this, the side of this shed. It's like a fishing shack. You know, you'd see a big area like that and it'd be dead, completely dead, because it's lifeless and it's dark and it's cool. But because she's, or he, I actually don't know who did this painting, but because they put in that warm color in there, it actually really provides a lot of life to the shadow areas, and that's throughout the painting. It's up here in the next to the window, but it's also in this shadow area. And I feel like this has got a real nice sense of, you know, this was an interesting one where we're talking about structures, and one of the things, this was a master copy, and the artist Ted Kautsky, he did a lot with making these structures look very interesting. And so they've done a really great job following that, and I think it's really wonderful. Now this is one area that I'd say I would probably recommend making a slight change here, because right here we have the top of the boat and the edge of that pier, that pole that's going up, they're kissing. That's what it's called in the art world, is like you really don't want to have an object kiss another object. You want to have them overlap, or you want to split them apart. When they come together like that, I mean, you could do it for a point, but it's usually going to be a little bit confusing. It'll draw attention to something that you most of the time don't really want attention drawn to. So it's better to either break that apart a little bit or overlap them slightly. Okay, and here's a fun painting that I feel like has a lot of depth going on, a lot of neat things. It's a really interesting scene in and of itself, just because of what it is. I mean, you can see off into the distance, and you have all this warm light back there, and then you have, you know, these trees that, to me, I'm guessing, I don't want to say what kind. They look like madrona trees to me, but that's maybe just me thinking about what I see around here. But you've got this nice water and reflections on the water, and I feel like this is just a nice scene that's got a lot of different things going on. You know, you've got some negative shapes over here painted around these trees. You've got some positive trees painted. And it's got a design that kind of is, it's a little bit alive, because it's got that diagonal feel. The angle of this water kind of that goes out leads your eye back up into this sky area and up into the corner. So I feel like it's got a nice thing going on, and these trees coming out interact with that and kind of keep your eye bouncing back and forth between things. So a really good job. I like also the warmth of the sky, and it's a fairly grayed down water area, and kind of the rocks and that has quite a bit of gray in it, but because of the warmth of the sky and the glow that kind of is coming off of the edge of these hills and islands, it has, and over the highlights off these trees, it adds a real sense of warmth to the painting overall. Okay, now here's the second, and this is the last painting I'm going to look at, but it's the second of the miniature painting lesson, and you can see how different it is than that first one, right? Now this one has maintained this square nature, so the format is different, and it looks a little different just for that reason, but it also is different in the way that it's been handled, right? The colors are a little different. It's not as Even though it still has a very soft feel and the edges are not super hard, there's a lot of nice soft blended edges here. It's not as impressionistic perhaps that you would say, like colors next to other colors. And this one has a little bit more of a feel, like smoother feel, a little more continuity in the road. You know, it's not broken up quite as much with the light coming across. So there's a lot of variation in these paintings that come across because of different personalities and different art styles and things like that. And I really love it. And this is, I feel like, a nice scene with a lot of this contrast again between the warmth of the light that shines through and the coolness, you know, the blues and the blue violets of the shadow and of that road down there that really offsets, again, that nice spring, fresh green color and the warmth of the sunlight. And then you have this cool kind of area of the road that leads up and your eye goes back. So I think this is a really great job. One thing, if I was saying something to work on, would be to make sure that as the trees go up, that they get smaller. Trees tend to have larger trunks, and then as it goes up, it gets a little smaller. Now, every once in a while, you have it where the tree splits, and it can kind of have a visual effect that looks like it's getting wider, but generally, if that happens, you'll start to see a space between those, the branches of the trunk as it goes up. So just to pay attention to that you maintain kind of what nature does in a tree, because that will help your viewer really know that you're looking at a tree and not something, you know, or try to make sense of something that isn't there. So really great job. I love looking at these paintings. I hope that was kind of interesting to you and you were able to see, maybe it wasn't your painting exactly, but you learned something about, boy, this is, you know, a really neat way to handle that. I loved what they did with the light, you know, the reflections of the light or the sunlight or whatever it was, but also maybe one little part of the critique could help you in your painting. You know, if you're struggling with trying to figure out, you know, something that's not working, and maybe you saw that two objects kissing each other, that would be something to break apart or whatever it was. Anyways, I hope it was helpful. Thanks for being here. If you want to learn more and want to be able to have your painting critiqued right here, then become a member of Acrylic University. We'd love to have you, and you could have your painting right here and I'd be looking at it and giving you some feedback on it. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to our channel, and also hit that little bell down there so you're notified when we have a new video for you. Also, if you liked one of these paintings, make a comment down below. Let us know which painting was your favorite, and if you learned anything, also let us know what that was, because we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.